Welcome to today's Research Business Daily Report, where we are going to share with you the average return on investment when data drives marketing. And I think you're going to be astounded at the percentage. And then we're going to pass on 4 essential takeaways from Copernicus Marketing's webinar that covered how to obtain a single view of the customer using big data. RBDR is sponsored today and this week by Socratic Technologies, whose proprietary tools and methodologies tackle marketing complexities so that you can make more confident business decisions. On smartdatacollective.com, Datamentors Director of Marketing Larisa Bedgood covered acres of what I think are vital ground on the data-driven marketing front. She did so in a few short steps. After all, what company is not growing in customer data? And that being the case, there are better ways, she says, to apply better marketing and data in order to collect what everybody wants, more revenue. Which is to say that Bedgood discussed breaking down silos, gaining a 360-degree view of the customer, and delivering personalized experiences to customers. Now, that is far from new subject matter. However, speaking of delivering the goods, Bedgood's lead paragraph did that in spades for me. She quoted VB Insights in a project that found 3,000 marketers and tools used on 3 million websites that said, quote, when data drives your marketing, the average return on investment is a whopping 224%, end of quote. Bedgood noted that even small improvements have the potential to drive higher ROI. For instance, in the aforementioned VB Insights project, it was learned that a business with a 4-phase customer acquisition funnel that can improve each of those phases by as little as 5% can gain overall improvement in ROI of 22%. Copernicus Marketing's recent webinar on how big data can enable single views of your customers covered 4 essential points, and we covered them one by one with Copernicus COO Eric Paquette. At the webinar, there were 4 primary takeaways. What was the first?
The first is that increasingly companies have access to huge amounts of data in first-party data sources like loyalty programs, e-commerce platforms that really we should be leveraging to help make better decisions, right? There's a tremendous amount of information that they're now capturing about customers that really should go into the development of marketing strategies. There's tremendous growth in the popularity of loyalty programs. I think there was a statistic that came out not too long ago that said there are something like 3.3 billion U.S. memberships in loyalty programs, and that's grown by over 25%, I think, over the past year. You see increasingly manufacturers are developing e-commerce sites, both to provide access, more direct access to customers and as an additional channel of distribution, but also very importantly to capture information and better understand who their customers are. So yeah, there's a huge trend going on generally for companies capturing this type of information.
Okay. Point number 2 has to do with behavioral data and its strengths, but also its limitations.
Yeah. So behavioral data obviously tells you all kinds of great stuff. You can get down in your databases to a level of granularity that you couldn't hope for anywhere else. You can understand who's buying what and when and in what combinations, and that information is all terrific. But what behavioral data doesn't really do is give you an underlying understanding of why consumers are making the decisions that they make. You have no information really, or very limited information in terms of their attitudes, in terms of their needs, in terms of their emotional connection to the brand. In the olden days, going back not that many years, we had to rely on surveys to capture some of that behavioral data, and there are obviously some issues with that. People don't necessarily perfectly recall what they did, and so bringing now together the behavioral data that is known and true, they are actual transactions and behaviors that are being observed in the databases, with the attitudes and the needs and the emotions, psychographics, demographics, other information that you can capture in a survey now provides that all to us in one place that we can begin to leverage information to develop marketing strategies.
Okay. Now your third point talked about databases and surveys, something that, again, research people are using all the time. but you talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of just relying on that data.
Yeah, I mean, relying on either of them individually ends up leaving holes, right? If you rely solely on the behavioral data, you don't have information about the attitudes, the needs, the emotions, the psychographics, any of that information. If you rely solely on the survey-based information, you don't have nearly the precision or the granularity that you would find in the database information. And so where we find the real power is when you begin to bring those sources of information together and to analyze them simultaneously, right? We don't want to have one set of analyses that happen on the database and a separate set of analyses that happen on the survey information, and then to try and drive that square peg through a round hole.
So the fourth takeaway has to do with, I think, maybe the primary role that Copernicus may be playing with these prospective clients, and that is bringing it all together and activating it.
Yeah, so increasingly we're bringing it together, both the database information and survey-based information, and also third-party marketing information to develop segmentations to help clients understand who their targets are, and then importantly to connect that information with all of the marketing activities that they're going to be using. So that involves putting it back into the database for direct marketing activities and CRM types of activities. It involves putting that information into traditional media surveys like an MRI or a Simmons or a CCS. And it also involves leveraging some of the third-party marketing data that's out there today, like the Experians and the Axioms and the Epsilons of the world, that allow for now addressable buying. I can buy addressable TV, I can buy addressable display advertising, I can buy lists that are more likely to find targets than not. If you are comparing it to sort of the traditional segmentations that we have always done in the past to provide some of this understanding about segments and targets, it's really not that much more money, right? The analyses are not fundamentally different. There's a little bit more modeling that we're doing, but not a lot. You're collecting a little bit more data, but you tend to be collecting that data from folks who are in your database, and that tends to be relatively inexpensive to do. So it's not a tremendously larger amount of money than it has been in the past. And when you think about that level of investment purely, or even the incremental level investment required versus the efficiency that you gain in your marketing activities, the incremental cost is a drop in the bucket.
We are linking to Eric's webinar for those who'd like to know more and take it all in. And if you'd like to contact him, you can email eric.paquette@copernicusmarketing.com. That's your Research Business Daily Report. We've been sponsored by Socratic Technologies, whose proprietary tools and methodologies tackle marketing complexities so that you can make more confident business decisions. As I always do, I'm encouraging you to check out sotech.com to find out more about a company that's doing great work for almost 2 decades. In the meantime, have a great research day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.